Welcome back to r/Neighbors from Hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Weird Neighbor Tries to Hustle Me for $1,000. It was the third week after my friends and I moved into this gorgeous duplex on the hip side of town. Our upstairs neighbors were a man and a woman. I am thinking hard and I cannot think of one occasion when I saw the woman, but I often said hi to the man. Every morning he would take his two dogs downstairs, put them in the car and drive somewhere. I believe he was taking them somewhere else to go to the bathroom. We also noticed the backyard never had dog poop in it. He would often do this shirtless, which is the way I saw him the most. He had a beer gut and wispy chest hair. I still wonder where the dog poo ended up and whether or not he was cleaning it up after. My roommates were the first to determine he was off. They told me they would see him outside in the backyard at 4 AM just laying in the grass shirtless. I just thought he was socially awkward, which is acceptable. But one day it became my problem. It was my own fault we had to make extended contact. I was parallel parking in a tiny spot during a thunderstorm. As I was making my final reverse to even myself out, I heard my back bumper make contact with the front of his car. I was going under 2 miles per hour, America unfortunately, but I definitely tapped him, so I wrote a note and put it in a Ziploc bag so it wouldn't melt in the rain. I had no idea whose car I hit. I was still becoming familiar with the people we shared street parking with, so I knew I had to take responsibility and, if it comes to it, make it right monetarily. About 5 minutes after I walked in the house, my roommate answered a knock on our door. It was the man upstairs and he would like me to come outside. I was relieved it was him I hit and not one of the dealers on the street. As hip and fashionable as that part of town was, it had sporadic rough patches. We lived in one of those and our other neighbors may or may not decide to stab you over a fender bender. As I approached him, he was fussing and pacing back and forth around the front of his car. Once I got there, he went around pointing out specific things I broke on his car. He claimed I flattened his tire, knocked his bumper loose and displaced one of his headlights. He repeated that he would be surprised if the car would even start. He didn't try to start it though. He basically told me that all this damage was going to cost around $1,000 to fix. We called the cops, where we were placed at the bottom of their priority list because our situation was essentially contained. After 45 minutes, a cop pulls up to the scene. I stand there prepared to eat my peas like a grown-up. The cop shined his maglite on the alleged damage, looked at it closely for a few seconds and plainly stated, "All this damage has rust around it. It is clear this damage has been here far longer than today. Also, she was going less than 5 miles per hour. There's no way she could have hit you hard enough to cause all of what you are claiming. Also, the height of her bumper is not at the right level and angle to do this kind of damage. I can give you a police report, but we cannot prosecute this. Have a nice day." I walked back into my house and decided not to say hi to him anymore. I hope he had to work his ass off to pay for the damages that had nothing to do with me. Our last glimpse of his weirdness happened after they had moved out of the unit. The people they hired to clean were milling around upstairs and we heard this weird noise from upstairs that we had never heard before. Turns out they were vacuuming the floor. And you know guys, for some reason this story reminded me of an incident I have recently heard about again in Bangkok. Supposedly nowadays more and more people try to cause accidents on purpose and then try to persuade or intimidate you into not involving insurance and instead just giving them money on the spot. Sometimes these people just drive totally effed up cars and then try some weird maneuvers to get you in an accident, but sometimes they just walk in front of your car and claim that you injured them. Honestly, I have heard of these incidents before, but mainly in countries like China, so I was kind of surprised to see that in Bangkok as well. And the next one is the title story, and it is titled, My Neighbor is Bringing Predators to Our Neighborhood. Context: predator animals, not predator people. For some context, I live in PA 1 mile outside of a major city. My neighbor, 65 female, and her husband are from California. They purchased a house behind me online without ever visiting the area or apparently Google mapping the area because the house is surrounded by trees and we just love wildlife. We live on a soon-to-be 5-lane road that people use as an alternative to the interstate. There is 2 shopping malls and a major grocery store around 1/4 mile down the road. Basically, we are not in the wilderness and live in an extended neighborhood amongst businesses and strip malls. Across the busy road is a mountain that is virtually untouched by humans. This woman is a huge PETA activist, environmentalist, vegan, and thinks the Game Commission is a mass conspiracy to brutally murder animals for fun. She has lived here in a residential neighborhood right outside of a city in a huge pro-hunting state for 3 years. When they moved in, they had termites and asked the exterminator to trap and release the termites. She also has not left her property in 2 years because I just cannot bear to see roadkill. This is my neighbor. 2 years ago we noticed a massive influx of squirrels. I had grandma confirm this. Not only was there a lot of squirrels, but they were also fat and not afraid of humans. That is when we noticed that 2 times a day this psycho is throwing about 5 pounds of birdseed and nuts on the ground because the squirrels depend on me to survive. We have had squirrels hiding nuts in our house wall, squirrels taking over my husband's workshop, and they rip up all my flower beds hiding their nuts. My husband kindly asked her to stop since what is not eaten will bring rats and mice, plus encouraging squirrels, rabbits, etc. to the immediate area will eventually bring predators as well. And he reminded her that squirrels will lose their instinct to forage the longer they have a human food source to replace the need to look for food. He was right about the predators. Last year we had 4 separate bears reported within a 3 square mile area of residential neighborhoods, as well as bobcats making a weekly appearance that we could hear. We ended up reporting her to the Game Commission 3 times last year and they found multiple bear poop piles in her yard. Game Commission told her she was responsible for the bears and ended up sending her a certified letter banning her from feeding any wildlife within our state. She did not listen, and all winter I watched this lunatic sweep away snow in the grass to scatter her pounds of seed and nuts on the ground. Now spring is here and we have a mama bear with 3 cubs roaming the area, as well as 2 other lone bears. I love wildlife, but if I wanted to live among it, I would have bought a house on the other side of the mountain, like she should have. My issue with her is these animals are coming down from the mountain and crossing a very busy road to get to her daily and nightly buffet. It is not safe for the animals to be inadvertently luring them off the mountain. Last year we had 2 bears hit by cars within a half mile of our house. One of them was relocated by the GC an hour away, came all the way back to the area and was hit crossing the road in front of my house. At this point I don't know what to do with this whack job. Clearly reporting her does not help. She is so consumed with helping wildlife that she is refusing to see that she is harming it instead. On top of it, we are only living in this house until it is rezoned commercially and can sell it. She is so concerned for the wildlife and environment and is raising hell at township meetings about any major projects moving forward. I want this woman gone, or at the least be told to shut up. And guys, this is still a very new story, so there are no further updates, but I just had to share it because it was such a crazy story. By the way, have you ever seen these videos, which are for some reason mostly from Russia, where people just chill out in the wilderness on a stool or something near a river, and then suddenly a bear is sitting in the stool next to the person in the video? In my opinion, guys, those things can only happen either in Russia or maybe in Florida. And by the way, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much in advance, it means a lot to me and it really helps me tremendously. And the next one is titled Sweet Revenge. I was told you would all appreciate this. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. My father is a plumber. Great guy, does the work you want and does his best on the job, acting like it is his own home to try to make sure the customer is satisfied. He was doing a job at a neighbor's home where they wanted a complete bathroom remodel, asking the owners of the home the whole way through specific things. Where they wanted the sink, shower, toilet to be located, etc., what kind of tiles, what designs for said tiles, even down to what color grout they would want. He did everything to their specifications, and on one of the last days of work, the day he was grouting everything, they decided to say it was not the correct tiles, they didn't like it and were going to pay him half of what he quoted them. Half of what he was owed for this 2-week-long job, 2 weeks being a decently short amount of time to demo and rebuild a whole bathroom. He told them that was wrong, that they literally picked everything, so why was it wrong now? They didn't care, told him to finish and leave. My father, ever the people pleaser, did so. Except he mixed sugar in with the grout, then grouted their bathroom. Their whole bathroom was finished with sugar grout. He only got paid half, but much more than that they had to spend on bug sprays for years. Years. Nothing could keep the bugs away from that sweet bathroom, according to a neighbor of theirs who was a friend of my father's. Don't screw with your servicemen, pay them, don't be a prick, or they may just be extra sweet. Maybe that's the chance for a new subreddit r/sweet revenge, where revenge can be sweet but brutal. And the next one is titled, My neighbor had a very loud bird. I moved into an apartment in the first floor of a complex. My next door neighbor owned a large bird, looked to be over 18 inches, that made loud noises most of the day and often throughout the night. My roommate and I approached the neighbor, bird owner or BO, a few times over the course of 6 months, asking him to please keep his bird quiet. BO said he would the first few times, but then would just tell us to mind our own damn business after that. He would speak with other tenants in the building as we would see them in the hallway and in the parking lot, and they had issues with BO for the incessant bird squawking too. I called the management office to file a complaint and they said they would need to investigate, which they eventually did. Unfortunately, the bird was quiet when the investigator came out and nobody in BO's apartment answered the door, so nothing came of it. The squawking continued day and night, and I recorded some of it and played it to the management office while filing another complaint. They said there was no way to prove that the recording I played was from BO and that they needed to witness the noise disturbance firsthand. Traditional channels were not working, so I decided to try something different. I looked up what type of bird this was and found recordings online of the different sounds they made. I located the sound that meant, "Warning! Predators in the area! Hide and be silent!" I put the speakers from my home audio system against the wall that was adjacent to BO's apartment, and every time that damn bird began to squawk, I would play the warning bird call at full volume. The bird would shut up for 15 to 30 minutes. This went on for a while, but it was by no means a perfect solution, as the bird would still squawk at random times and wake me up at night. I ran into some of my other neighbors and we got to talking again about the annoying bird. They told me that the bird was getting louder and completely out of hand. I realized that they were not only complaining about the bird's actual noises, but the warning recordings I was playing. This gave me an idea. I searched for more recordings made by this particular breed of bird and began playing them loudly to see how the bird would react. There was one specific sound that incited rage in the bird, and it would go nuts for 30 minutes or more. I began playing this sound randomly throughout the day. At times I knew BO was home, the bird would go crazy and squawk loudly every time, and BO could do nothing to stop it. I heard BO yelling at the bird, banging on the bird's cage, and then other people yelling at each other from that apartment. This was amazing. I could ruin their day. So I started playing the rage sound a few times every night, and the bird would go insane. I heard people yelling, items being thrown, and over all of it, the bird completely losing its mind. After a few days of doing this, it sort of lost its sheen, so I called the management team and filed another complaint stating that the bird was making the noise right now and that they needed to send someone to investigate. The person on the phone said that they were already planning on sending someone due to the large number of complaints they had received over the past few days, and they would be out within 10 minutes. I got off the phone and played the rioting bird call. The crazy bird reacted just like before and went nuts. The investigator showed up soon after, the bird still screaming, and they had their evidence. A week later, BO was gone, so was that bird. The vacated apartment was left destroyed. The apartment management had crews in and out of that place for weeks, ripping out carpeting and flooring, replacing damaged drywall, appliances and fixtures. They had kept the bird in the bathroom, in and out of a large cage, and everything was covered in bird poo. What I learned: a bird in the bathtub is worth 2 fists in your face. And the last one is titled, "Am I the a-hole for wanting a fence for privacy from a weird man?" Here is the rundown. Bought a home last summer for purposes of privacy and nature, backs up to 20 acres of empty lot, forest and ravine, checked all the boxes. I have space from neighbors on both sides due to the lot size and the aforementioned large empty rear lot, which is ideal. The property line in the backyard is the tree line, about 30 feet from the back door/patio. When trees are full, you cannot see more than a few feet into the woods. Privacy. A few months later and the leaves fall and the woods thin. Turns out there's a man who camps and lives in his car on the empty lot, and our backyard is about 100 feet from where he sits or paces for 12 to 16 hours a day, every single day. You would have no idea he was even there May to October because of the foliage, but there is November to April too, despite cold weather. All day and night. He parks his vehicle on this huge lot as close as possible to our backyard, so it is all you see when the blinds are open or you are outside. He has huge piles of junk and garbage accumulated and apparently doesn't go to the bathroom. He is there endlessly. Multiple neighbors have warned us not to go into the woods as well. Fine, it is not our property. However, the warning is because this man has been threatening and was being hostile to neighbors before with a gun. So for 6 months of the year we have an apparently hostile man with clear view of our once private backyard who does nothing but sit and stare or pace all day every day, amongst other things. We are not engaging with the individual due to the stories of hostility and his clearly bizarre behavior, much of which I have not described here. He apparently is there legally because his family from out of state owns the property, so we cannot call the police. The lot is for sale, but has been for a decade. The price is too high, it is not going to sell. We have mentioned putting up a fence to neighbors and the reaction is, "Why? He doesn't bother anyone." You mean the stories you have all told about him pulling a gun on neighbors? Nothing to worry about with a toddler who wants to do nothing more than play in the backyard all day. So we are getting a fence despite the current astronomical prices of lumber and regardless of the grumbling of the neighbor whose property line the fence will run along. Well, am I the a-hole for wanting a fence for privacy and protection? Edit, I should note that I understand this person may just want to be left alone and that he may not ever be an actual threat to my family. Unfortunately, the behavior is bizarre enough and the stories of hostility discomforting enough that we just cannot leave the space open. Edit number 2, code enforcement has been contacted. They seemed disinterested but said someone would swing by, at a minimum, to check for dumping violations. I am less than hopeful as I haven't noticed any official vehicles since reporting this morning and he is still there doing his thing. Thanks all for your support. And guys, I would love to hear your opinion about this story. Do you think that OP is the a-hole or is he doing the right thing? Let us know in the comments. And ripe stars, unfortunately we have already reached the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. However, if you cannot wait for more ripe content, then I suggest you head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where you can find more exclusive Reddit content read by me. Patreon subscriptions start at just $1 per month, and for $1 your name will show up at the end of each of my new videos. However, if you are willing to spend $3 per month, you will get access to more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos, mostly just no mother-in-law stories. However, please understand, I don't want to pressure anyone into spending money, because I am already incredibly grateful that you watch my videos every single day. Thank you so much for your daily support, it really means the world to me, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for the next video.